Welcome back to another edition of ESBR's Big Fight Breakdown. I'm Thomas, along with my colleagues Owen and Niall, and today we'll be discussing the return of Saul Canelo Alvarez against Edgar Berlanga September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, just interact with any of our content any way possible. That would be greatly appreciated. And So the return of Canelo Alvarez is just under a few weeks away. Uh, I got to be honest, the hype there doesn't really seem to be behind this one too much, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But I don't know. Perhaps you fellas have a different opinion. Niall, I'll start with you, man. First of all, what's your impression on Berlanga's career thus far, and what do you make of this matchup?
I think kind of to answer your question about Berlanga's career, I think the hype has fizzled out very quickly on Berlanga, which is understandable, after his kind of streak of first round knockouts. That was never gonna last. So I think people I could disagree with this, but I think people kind of are a bit harsh on him because he hasn't kind of lived up to that continuous kind of knockout reputation. He's not perfect, but I like Berlanga. I think that's what makes him exciting. He's very rough around the edges, but I think he is a big puncher and he is exciting and he is charismatic. That being said, on this fight, I don't like this fight, to be honest. But then again, as kind of no matter who Canelo faces, that's not named David Benavidez, he's going to get insane amounts of criticism. So I think that is quite harsh in one aspect. But that being said, I think there's far worse opponents he could have fought in the super middleweight division. I don't think Berlanga is quote unquote a soft touch, if you will. Like I think he is a dangerous opponent. And whether he wins or not, or has a chance of winning, we get to that, I'd say. But I think there's far worse opponents. But like kind of most of us, I'm disappointed that it's not David Benavidez.
Yeah, of course. Owen, what about you, my man? What do you think of Berlanga's career thus far? Do you think that perhaps critics have been a bit harsh on him? Do you think that this is a better matchup than most people think? What are your thoughts on this?
I think they've been very harsh on him. He almost set himself up for failure by knocking everyone out in the first round. I read a stat before. I'm pretty sure it's something like him and Mike Tyson have the most first round knockout victories. It's ridiculous. He went on a streak of, I think it was about 8 fights on the bounce. Probably, I think it was more. I think it was about his first sort of 12, 13, 14 fights where everyone was just getting stopped in the first round. So, at that point, that's when you start appealing to the casuals. And that's when people, especially the casuals, are expecting to face the likes of Canelo or the top sort of 168-pound fighters and expecting everyone to be knocked out. So I think it is a bit harsh. We had a couple of unanimous decision victories. And then obviously knocked out Paddy McCrory, much to the delight of ESBR's Paul Kelly. But yeah, I think some of the critics are very harsh on him. He set himself up for failure by knocking everyone out within 3 minutes. So I think it's a lot of unnecessary criticism. And listen, if he performs in this fight, then I think the critics will all be shut up.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the good points there. I think he, like you mentioned, definitely didn't do himself any favors by going on that huge knockout streak. But at the end of the day, he won all of his fights, and still has a pretty decent knockout to win ratio. At 22 wins, 17 knockouts, if I'm correct. So still not bad. Um, so we'll see what he can do. But assuming, without getting, without giving away our predictions, assuming that Canelo gets past this, because to me, without being too disrespectful to Berlanga, this kind of seems like a stepping stone filler fight. Um, if he's not going to fight Benavidez. He's not going to fight Crawford. What's the end goal for Canelo? Is he just going to keep fighting fights like this? Oh, and I'll stick with you. What do you think Canelo's going to do, assuming he wins against Berlanga?
I'll answer it in two ways: how I want to see it and how he will see it. Benavidez is the only fight I want to entertain with Canelo Alvarez. I don't want to see him in the ring with anyone else. I think he's built himself up. He's put himself on a pedestal to the point of he's been in such big fights so often. It's what we need to see. Um, Personally, I think his head is he's not bothered about any of these fights. He just wants that Bivol rematch. And I think that's his only goal, which I think is stupid because there'll be no difference in the result. Bivol too big, too strong, too clever. It's just going to be exactly the same result. So yeah, I think that's what he's looking for. I think there's been so little hype around this fight, so little build up because I think Canelo himself is just keeping busy trying to get that Bivol rematch. But yeah, for me, it has to be Benavidez or no one else, to be honest. Obviously, I'll watch if Canelo's fighting. I'm not going to say no to watching it, but for me, as a fight fan, it has to be Benavidez. But I do think whether he gets it or not. I think all roads lead to Bivol or potentially Beterbiev if Beterbiev beats Bivol.
Right. Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Niall, what's your opinion on that, man?
I'm gonna have to agree as well, 100%. I think, as Owen said, and as you'd probably say, as boxing fans would say, the one fight we need is Benavidez. Nobody else. Like there's nobody else that does anything for. Well, I suppose, obviously Bivol does something for his legacy if he was to win, but I don't think Canelo ever beats Dimitri Bivol, no matter how many times they fight. So I've got no interest in seeing that. As Owen said, I'll watch it 100%. But I don't think he ever beats Dimitri Bivol in a rematch. Arthur Beterbiev, even less of a chance. I think if Beterbiev beats Bivol, especially stops him, I think Canelo will not go near Arthur Beterbiev, and rightly so. Does nothing for. He doesn't need to kind of take that risk, to go up. He's not a light heavyweight. So yeah, I have no interest. And then you look at other possible options. There's Chris Eubank, no interest in that. I don't think many people would want to see that. Jamal Charlo, and Terence Crawford. So the Terence Crawford fight, we mentioned what we wanted to see, which was Benavidez. I think Canelo, if he doesn't fight Benavidez, which I doubt will happen, no matter who that comes down to, but I think Canelo will fight Terence Crawford. I just think it's too much of a super fight. There's too much money involved not to make it happen. But I don't want to see that either. It's not competitive in any facet, in my opinion. I don't think either man needs to take it for a legacy, but the money, if it makes money, it makes sense. But yeah, what I want is Benavidez, like us all, and what I think Crawford next, to be honest with you.
Yeah, look at the options. If it's not Benavidez, it doesn't really seem like there's really much out there for Canelo. It's kind of hard to imagine what he would do next. But is there any shot for Berlanga here? Do you guys think that he could upset the apple cart in any way? And if so, Niall, I'll stick with you. What do you think? What would he need to do? What kind of fight would he need to fight?
I definitely think there's a chance, I don't think it's a complete mismatch like a lot of people are kind of making out to be. Berlanga is big, he's strong, he's unbeaten, he's coming to win. Canelo has seen better days. He's still a world class operator, but he's not the force that he once was. So I think there is a chance. What I think he needs to do is here. He needs to start fast. The early rounds for me are going to be key. Canelo, I won't say notoriously a slow starter, but he's not the quickest of starters. So if you can kind of make that count by banking early rounds, using your strength, pushing Canelo back, volume punching, and get his attention that way, I don't think he's heavy-handed, but he's not heavy-handed enough to kind of hurt Canelo massively or even drop him. But I think he needs to assert his size here early, his size and strength and his youth, and he needs to bank a lot of the early rounds, which I think he could have a chance to do. There's definitely a chance. I leave my prediction till the end, but yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one, particularly early. But that's what I think Berlanga needs to do.
All right. Owen, what do you think? You agree with that? Is there anything else that Berlanga could add to the mix that would help him win?
You're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what that muted. Yeah, I do have to agree with Niall. I think the bookies alone, the critics, everyone's only given Berlanga a puncher's chance. Like, I know Canelo's never been stopped, but for a man with the power Berlanga's got 25 to 1 for a stoppage, there's got to be worth a couple of quid sort of thing. I know it's not the betting tip show, which will come out, but I just think Berlanga he's huge at the weight. He's 6'1", 6'2". Canelo, we've seen him at light heavy, how small he was, but he's not even the biggest at super middle, Canelo. So I think Berlanga, like Niall says, if he can bank some of the early rounds, use his size, use his weight advantage, because they all put weight on, we all know that. Realistically, Berlanga's probably going to be coming in 10, 15 pound heavier on the night in the ring. So if he can lean on him, but almost like what Bivol done to Canelo, in that essence, has definitely got a chance. Like Niall said, I'm not saying Canelo is a bang average fighter now, but Canelo's best days are past him. He's fought at all the way up from sort of like in recent years, 155 up to about 180 pound. That's going to take its toll on you, floating up and down weights, chasing after Bivol, etc. So he's a long way into a deep career now, Canelo. He's what, 60, 63, 65 fights in. So I think Berlanga definitely got more of a chance than people are making out. And if he needs to stick it on Canelo early, because if he lets Canelo take control, then we know what'll happen. But yeah, if Berlanga can bank some of those early rounds and make Canelo chase him, he's 100% got a chance of winning the fight.
Well, that begs the question, Owen. Do you think that it'll actually go down that way? How do you see this fight going? Give us your final prediction right now.
I do see it that way. I think Canelo is clever enough to get a points victory, but I don't think it's going to be a landslide by any means. And I think he may face some early adversity. I really think Edgar Berlanga is going to come out and just stick it all over Canelo nice and early. Lots of pressure, lots of combinations, lots of punches. As I said, use his size, weight advantage, etc. So I think we'll see Canelo edge out a points decision, maybe like a 116, 114 around that mark. Because I do think we'll see Berlanga pick up sort of rounds, maybe like rounds 1, 2, 3, 5, that's type of thing. So yeah, I think an early onslaught from Berlanga and Canelo to just be clever enough to see out the second half of the fight.
All right. Niall, what do you think, man? How is this fight going to go? You think that it'll go the same way or perhaps a wider victory for Canelo? What do you think?
I'm gonna agree with Owen again, 100%. I know it's funny to say that after we kind of bigged up Berlanga, but I do think it will be a close fight. And I think it will go down as we said. I think Berlanga will start like a house on fire. Start like a train, putting the pressure on Canelo, backing him up, using his size. But what it comes down to for me is, even though we've seen better days, I just think he's too versatile for Berlanga in the end. Um, I don't want to say is it kind of used the quote too soon for Berlanga, but he's not ready for this step up just yet from who he's fought. So Canelo's too experienced, too versatile, too quick to kind of ride out the best that Edgar Berlanga has to give to him. I think he'd win a relatively close but kind of decisive points win for Canelo for me. But I think Berlanga will kind of, even in defeat, silence a lot of critics about him. I think he will put in a good performance, and if he does lose, hopefully he can come again, with a good performance, and he doesn't become too kind of disheartened. But yeah, the great Canelo to win a points decision for me.
Yeah, it's a good call, guys. I'm gonna disagree slightly. I got Canelo winning. Um, but you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think Canelo is gonna end that knockout drought. I think we've seen Berlanga hurt bad and dropped by a fighter who, you know, much lesser than Canelo. I think there's questions to be had about his chin. I think maybe he's going to start early. He's going to get hit with something big, and then he's going to get reminded, what level he's fighting at. Uh, and I think he's going to get stopped somewhere around 9 or 10. Um, but we shall see. Hopefully, it is a good fight. People, are kind of lukewarm on it at best. I know I am. Not really too excited about it, but this is boxing, and it's the theater of the unexpected. So let's see what happens. So that does it for another edition of ESBR's Big Fight Breakdown. Um, Niall, Owen, thanks for joining us. And and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we upload content daily, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.